Joining us now is Kachi Ofia with stories trending around the world, and she's going to catch all those stories and put them, what's that your word, in context.
yes. So yours is unpacking. Mine is, let's put it in context.
So today I tried to dissect and analyze it because I've been told I'm an unpacker.
You are an unpacker, definitely. But I love the fact that we're channeling our inner blue. Mm-hmm. You know, Dr. Bati's beautiful bow tie in turquoise, you in, this is more like midnight navy. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not sure what shade this is, but it's
teal.
Teal, exactly. That's what it's called. Well, whether or not you're wearing blue, good morning to you viewers. Let's take a look at the top stories trending today. Beginning with the former Delta State Governor, Ifeanyi Okowa, saying he regrets accepting to run as vice presidential candidate alongside Atiku Abubakar in the 2023 elections. Okowa said the decision taken at the federal level by the People's Democratic Party did not reflect the sentiments of his people. Speaking on the Arise Morning Show on Tuesday, the former governor said he has deeply reflected on the consequences of that choice. He admitted that the South had hoped to produce a successor to President Muhammadu Buhari, but the PDP's leadership chose a different path. Let's take a look.
The issue about the presidential election was such that as of 2023, it was a question of North-South politics. You are very much aware of it, that it was a question of North-South politics. The people of the South were likely interested in a Southerner coming in as president after Buhari's tenure. Yes, I ran under my party as vice presidential candidate because I belonged to that political family, and at that time, it was the best choice. But I did realize, even when we were campaigning, that people were not interested in having another Northerner coming into power at that 2023. And that became a major factor for me. But a decision had been taken at the federal level, at a party level, and I had already been nominated vice presidential candidate.
Well, let's take a look at some of your reactions, Professor Imonoka's tweet. And it was quite long, but we'll just try to see how we can take it real quick. He says, whether politically correct or selfish, Okowa's statement is undoubtedly calculated. Nigerian politics rarely rewards humility unless it serves a purpose. His regret may be an olive branch to aggrieved factions, a reset for his own political brand, or simply a case of trying to rewrite history before others do it for him. Either way, it reflects the volatile and strategic nature of elite political survival here in Nigeria, where alliances are fluid and accountability often gives way to positioning. History goes on to say, on the other hand, there are signs this could be motivated by personal political survival. PDP poorly performed in 2023. Okowa may now be distancing himself from Atiku to avoid being tied to a failed campaign. With 2027, the cycle already bubbling, this might be a tactical move to remain relevant, either to rejoin local politics, pivot towards national office again, or secure a realignment whichever camp emerges stronger. It could also be an attempt to reshape his legacy, deflecting blame for electoral outcomes. Now, I think in everything that, Okowa has said, nothing surprises me. Whether it's his regret, whether it's defection, it's all politics. And we've seen this happen on a global stage as well. Situations where you ignore the base. You ignore certain facts that are salient to your success. For instance, what he said about ignoring the fact that his people were not in support of the Northern movement, of the North push. And he said, despite that, he went on to side with Atiku as a vice presidential candidate. Also understanding that in places like Italy, Matteo had also come out at some points to say, okay, mistakes have been made. I want to see how I can rebuild my image under a different brand. And I think that's exactly what he's trying to do. The fact is, it still boils down to PDP and their structure, their sustainability. There is no faith or hope in the fact that PDP has any chance in 2027. So it doesn't come as a surprise to me, or I don't even think it's a personal thing. It's just expected. If you look at Jeremy Corbyn, the UK's Labour, there were a lot of ideological rifts. There were a lot of people defecting as well. When a party is unstable, people are bound to pivot.
Okay, Senator Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa was a guest on this program yesterday, and we asked him most of these questions. Number one, it was established clearly that people have the right under the Nigerian Constitution. Freedom of thought, freedom of assembly, freedom of choice, freedom of speech. So politicians will always say, well, they can make their own choice. Now, the people who have commented on the interview with Senator Patrick Okowa, they are in two categories. There are persons who have said, well, he was very clever in answering all the questions. That, he tried to justify whatever he has done. There are persons, particularly members of the PDP. Today we have had Alhaji Baraje on this program. We have had Chief Dele Momodu, who have both said that, look, that an Okowa will leave the PDP is shocking. And that they think that he's doing it for purposes of opportunism. So that's another view, within that spectrum. But, he was telling us yesterday that this is about my people. That, look, the people in Delta State, they are taking a decision. Yeah, we were here when one other governor, I think one governor, was saying, my people, my people, my people, my people. Politicians will always tell you that is their people. And that was why I posed the question to Senator Okowa yesterday that, okay, these are your people. What is their voice in this matter? Where were they consulted? What is the, guarantee, the proof that the people of Delta State generally have said they are moving from one political party to the other? He said, well, leaders are supposed to lead. We will consult with them and all that. A posteriori. That's what a politician will say. But what is the latest in this matter is that the acting chairman of the PDP, Ambassador Damagum, is now saying that the party is going to go after those members that have left the party, particularly those amongst them that can be taken to court. Because we always say that, look, the party, the position belongs to the party. Can they invoke Section 68 of the Constitution, 109, 1G of the Constitution, and take those Delta State lawmakers who may have joined in this defection to court? Let's test the law again and again. Let's test it. Then, as for Senator Oberewori, earlier this morning on this same program, I cited the example of Abubakar Karimi. If I'm wrong, I would like to be contradicted and properly advised. When he left the People's Redemption Party, PRP, in 1983, and he jumped to the MPP, the Nigeria People's Party, he resigned. Abubakar Karimi, as governor of Kano State, said, look, I won this election on the platform of the PRP. I think I've disagreed with PRP. I'm going to another party. Take your governorship. We are asking for men of character, men of dignity, men of conscience. And that is why principle, ideology should be important to Nigerian politicians. Not to just, rely on opportunism and say, okay, I'm governor. The Constitution is silent on whether or not you stay in a particular political party. And the summum bonum of it is that we still need to reform the electoral process. We still need to review certain sections of the Constitution in relation to our electoral process that will place emphasis on character, and that politicians will have the confidence, political parties will have the confidence to test the law in the courts of law. It's not enough to say, oh, they also defect in other countries of the world. No, that's solipsism. That's not enough. Can we test the law? And can we have more people who can stand up confidently, like Abubakar Karimi of Wood, and say, well, I think this is a moral question, and this is where I stand in this matter.
Absolutely, Bimbai.
Absolutely. The other day I went through the definition of democracy. And democracy itself is a Greek word. Demos meaning people, kratos meaning power. Democracy is supposed to be a system of government that gives the people power. But when we see all these, musical chairs that's happening with regards to political positioning, it's unfortunate because what in essence it does is it steals the mandate from the people. We act surprised when there's huge voter apathy, and it's not necessarily about the election process itself. Democracy is not just about election day, it's about what happens in between. So yes, I understand that, defections are a part of life, a part of politics globally. But what happens between election cycles is, for me, what's most imperative. What are the ideologies? We're trying to hold the current administration accountable for various things. Let's take an example from the United States, where Donald Trump celebrated 100 days in office. It's very easy to take a look at Donald Trump's election promises and look at what he has done in 100 days and give him a scorecard to say, well, based off of X, Y, and Z, this is what his score is. Are we able to do the same here? Yesterday, Senator Okowa said something, deeply profound and revealing, but he said it so simply. He said, there's no ideology. Everyone is just looking for a vehicle that can give them power. And for me, it was shocking that a vice presidential candidate could sit boldly and say, there's no ideology. We all had. He said all of our manifestos were the same in 2023, which is, it's just a revelation of where we stand. And it's unfortunate because we truly do need people who stand for something bigger than I want to be in power. But this is where we are now. In another breath, a senator representing Benue South, Abamoro, has also said, well, the PDP also regrets choosing you as a vice presidential candidate. Maybe the PDP is now realizing that it's possible that if they'd just given the ticket to Nyesom Wike, things could have turned out differently. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, I think this also explains why there are a lot of things are the way they are in Nigeria. Because whereas, ideally, on the surface end, generally, these things should not be an issue, but it's always the intent, it's always the motive. What are you moving for? Is it for personal gain or, like you said, for the people's benefit? Let's take another story. Speaking about moral character, Seyi Tinubu, the son of President Bola Tinubu, has debunked allegations made by the newly elected president of the National Association of Nigerian Students, Comrade Atiku Abubakar Issa. The student leader had accused him of leading thugs to disrupt the NANS inauguration in Abuja and threatening his life. In a phone interview, Issa alleged that Seyi Tinubu tried to stop the inauguration by surrounding the venue with armed men and locking down the premises. But now in an official post on Instagram, Seyi Tinubu has dismissed the claims as false and defamatory, saying enough is enough with these fake stories. He also shared a screenshot of the report, labeling it as fake news. Meanwhile, the Christian Association of Nigeria has now condemned media blackmail, the media blackmail targeting Seyi Tinubu, the son of the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In a statement, CAN's Northern Chairman, Reverend John Joseph Hayab, urged responsible journalism and cautioned against spreading unverified information. He emphasized that Seyi Tinubu should not be targeted due to his father's position and called for ethical standards in media practices to avoid character assassination. Seyi Tinubu is someone that is very active on social media. Obviously he's the president's son, but I feel like a lot of times, this story, by the way, was investigated. And according to several news sources and witnesses at the venue, they say there was no disruption at the Wells Carlton where the event happened in Abuja. Witnesses also went on to say that they didn't have any feeling of his presence or presence of thugs anywhere. So it then begs the question for the NANS chairman, where is this feeling of insecurity coming from? Or is this just another social media attack at Seyi Tinubu, which could be for several reasons? A lot of people have spoken about his lifestyle, his personal lifestyle, sometimes using state resources for personal gain. But these are separate issues. Allegations of harassment and defamation of character, separate issues as well. Should they be joined together?
No. Defamation, it's a very serious matter.
Yes.
Now, every citizen, every human being has a right under the laws of Nigeria to protect their reputation, to protect their brand, their integrity. No other person has a right to tarnish, impugn the reputation of the other person.
Yes.
And that's why we say, one, that your right stops where mine begins. There's no overlap. Two, that there are no absolute rights. Three, that the criminal code of Nigeria recognizes things like libel, slander, or the general framework of defamation. Now, if you like, you go and defame people, those people have the right to challenge you. So Seyi Tinubu has every right to protest, to say, look, I've been lied against, fake stories have been written about me, and I've been defamed, and my reputation has been impugned. In this particular case, he's saying that he did not disrupt NANS, was it a general meeting or some
convention.
Kind of convention, you know, and then one of the factional leaders of the National Association of Nigerian Students is saying that Seyi Tinubu tried to kill him. Now, when you make such allegations, you have to prove.
Yes.
You can't just make allegations against people. But we're in the age of social media where all kinds of demented, poorly educated, badly brought up, idiotic village idiots, you know, just write what they like about other people. But because in Nigeria, people will say, well, if you go to court now, the matter will be in court for a very long time, and there will always be enough ambulance lawyers who will say, let us go and try our luck, let us go and try our luck. But what people must realize, that your access to a platform does not give you the right to tarnish other people's image, except you have proof, justification. That is what is called defense of truth, or fair comment, or absence of malice. But you cannot just say, oh, this person is this and that, when you don't have proof. That's number one. As for the people say, Seyi Tinubu, what did you say now? He's using privilege
and
all that.
Personal life.
I don't think it's a sin to be the son of the president.
Yeah.
I've criticized the same Seyi Tinubu before when he tried to upstage the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Since that time, they've not done it again. In fact, his father asked him to leave council meeting subsequently after that controversy, so that we just draw the lines. You can be the son, you can be a citizen and do your things. But that does not mean that because you are a child of privilege and because of your circumstances, other people will come and discriminate against you. No, I will not agree to that. Now, as for Reverend Ayab, right?
Yes.
Reverend Joseph Ayab, who is the head of the Christian Association of Nigeria. Well, I mean, he also has his right to express opinions. But please, can we separate church from politics? Because Reverend Ayab, you know, speaking for all the 19 branches of the Christian Association of Nigeria, defending the son of the president, Seyi Tinubu, and giving lectures to the media. He doesn't have serious work to do.
That's what I was about to say.
What is his bona fide in this matter? No, what is his locus? That is the one now issuing statement and saying Khan of Northern Nigeria is defending Seyi Tinubu. They don't have more serious things to attend to.
In the north, especially.
In the north, killings in Plateau, killings in Borno. Ayab is carrying placard and saying, well, journalists and media houses should desist from publishing fake information, and this is how journalism should be practiced, while he has the right to express opinion. He should also, he and his members in Christian Association of Nigeria, they should focus on more important things. What has Khan in Northern Nigeria, what has he said about persecution of persons, Christians, in the north? What has Khan, Northern Nigeria, led by Reverend Ayab, what has he said about the passing of the People's Pope? What has he said about more important things? They are jumping into politics and saying, we are defending Seyi Tinubu. They should know their limits and stay within the boundaries of decorum.
Within the boundaries of decorum, I love that. Well,
very quickly, I think that It's really sad that we've gotten to a time, especially here, it's a global phenomenon, but I'll speak on our context here, that if we feel that we have a report to make or we suspect some type of injustice or, whatever, if we have an allegation to lay on someone, that unfortunately the first place we run to is the media, as opposed to the channels, the correct channels. We can advocate for people to send their petitions through the appropriate channels if they have allegations to make against anybody. But we all know that that process in itself has its nuances and peculiarities.
Yes,
that's why I say it's a sad day, because under normal circumstances, we should be able to tell this president of NANS that if he has a grievance or a suspicion or an accusation against somebody, he needs to go and lay it through and put that petition through the formal channels, the proper channels. But we know that that in itself is a question mark process. However, the issue of is it factionalism within NANS? Listen, if we now have factionalism at PDP, APC, it's now coming down to NANS as well, then we really have a serious problem.
These are the issues.
Because student leadership is supposed to, to be driving. It's supposed to be the heartbeat of where our political movement is going. So if he has a grievance with Seyi Tinubu, I believe he should go and lay his complaint in the appropriate places.
A lot of people capitalize on social media because, like you rightly said, Dr. Abati, there are people who are just waiting to prey on the information, capitalize on it. So they're targeting those people who will not do the research, who will not ask questions, and will just take it as law and fact. And that's why that's not advisable. Let's take another story. A video is now making rounds on social media showing the condition of Isaleko Grammar School at Deniji Adele, Lagos Island. A concerned citizen who saw students struggling to assess the school after a heavy downpour is calling on activists and the government to intervene. Let's take a look.
I was wondering what was happening here, how people just gathered. I now found out that these school children were trying to gain entrance inside their school premises. This is interesting. This is interesting. We're just at the beginning of rainy season, and this is happening. They are trying to gain entrance inside their school premises. Come, our very dark brother, please, you've been going abroad to help other children. Please, come and help us here. This one day, your Shokoto. Please, I'm tagging you. Come and help these children. This water is not healthy. You need to see the water. It's green. It's one greenish color.
You know, this story highlights the issues of social media I was just talking about, where a lot of people have more faith in social media than they have in our law enforcement officials. You heard the lady in the video say, our very dark brother, please come and in my mind, I'm thinking, is that the point we've gotten to, where social media now has a government on its own? It has its own unwritten laws, I guess, and it also has its own security agencies and apparatus to handle issues and welfare as well. It's quite interesting, but I also think that is a menace that needs to stop. And the only way it can is for the proper authorities to sit up and do what they are supposed to do, as opposed to wait for others to do it for them.
I think for me, this is a fantastic use of social media. If we can do our advocacy and amplify stories that genuinely need to be amplified, such as this is deplorable. And I believe this was also part of the back and forth that was happening between supporters of the governor of Lagos State and supporters of Peter Obi. There was a back and forth that was happening, that had been happening over the past 2 days on Twitter, or X rather, about development, because there were those statements that had been made by Peter Obi at the Johns Hopkins University, and then Governor Sanwo-Olu had rebuffed them and said that, well, what did you do in Anambra? So people started comparing Lagos and Anambra. So I know some of these videos came about because of the back and forth of comparison between development in Lagos versus development in Anambra. But nevertheless, this is deplorable and this is extremely unfortunate, especially because we know when the rainy season is coming around. It's not a surprise, but for some reason, we like to act surprised every year when the floods start setting in, even though NIMET gives us sufficient warning. That's the first one. Number two, honestly, these young, vulnerable children, we're talking about how our democracy is not working. But the founders of democracy, the Greek philosophers themselves, will tell you that democracy requires an informed decision. If we have children who cannot go to school, the democracy cannot work, because how will they make informed decisions?
Exactly.
That's my final take.
Okay, very quickly. There is no government on social media. The social media is made possible by what Walter Benjamin calls the democratization, the technical reproducibility of the electronic medium. That's how he put it. And that has led to a wave of democratization, where all kinds of persons, educated, ignorant, whatever, vulcanizers, uneducated imbeciles, can express themselves. So to that extent, it's a major symbol of democracy. But it has its own downsides, where you can have the unintelligent, people who cannot think beyond 140 words, think that they are important, and they hide under the guise of anonymity. That's not the main problem. The government that you talked about, I went that way because you said government on social media. The government that should be addressed is the government of the day.
Yes.
The Nigerian Constitution talks about the responsibility of government, Section 14, sub 2, that it should ensure the security and welfare of the people. And that ensuring the security and welfare of the people includes everybody, including young children who are going to school. We have made the point that an emergency needs to be declared in the education sector. No child in Nigeria should be denied access to education. No child should be subjected to very difficult circumstances when they want to learn. There's no point where they have to ride canoes to get to their classrooms, or they have to, sit on their bare floors. So the importance of this video, in my view, is that this has been brought to the attention of the Lagos State government. Governor Sanwo-Olu is doing a lot, but his attention now has been drawn to Isaleko Grammar School at Adeniji Adili, Lagos Island. It is for the government to take this video in good faith and say, well, something is wrong in this school in terms of drainage, in terms of what happens during rainy season, and try to make sure that this kind of situation does not happen again. So there is a government. That government is not on social media. It is a government that is in place that must serve the people.
Absolutely. Well, that will be all from me on what's trending today.
Oh, you are done? I thought you had other stories.
No, I'm done. I'm being told I'm done.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
I think we were able to catch enough.
We did. We caught a few things here and there, and I hope people watching caught it as well.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kachi.
Absolutely.